Alabama must have had a rough.
Yeah, we about to do it. Watch us get into it. We some lumberjacks, and we needin' wood. Yeah, we going for the sweep, then we mop it up. We put it all on the block, and then we chop it up, 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 chop it up. We put it all on the block, and then we chop it up.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. It's Wednesday night, and that only means one thing. It's time for the NFL show hosted by Beast of Kane himself. This is the Chopping Block podcast presented by DJ's Clam Shack here in St. Augustine, Florida. And let's run down the lineup tonight. Like I mentioned, executive producer and host of tonight's show, Beast of Kane, Coach Price, the king of dumpster juice, the CCW Tag Team Champion himself, the Thoroughbred Havoc, two turn Tony, and Kevin Davis. I think he's going by Tua legit to quit at the moment. But hey, this is the NFL show. Take us away, Barry.
Hey guys, great show ahead of us. Glad to have you guys back. This show is going to be a little different for what we normally do. But you know us, we chop it up. So we may do anything if you sign into this channel. But I'm going to get right into it. Tonight, we're going to be a little bit draft heavy on the beginning. And then we're going to cruise on out into some other things. Okay? But what's been on my mind watching these two guys play is, did they get it right? Did the people get who they actually really wanted? And what's happening between these two guys as far as perspectives throughout the nation of football lovers. So the question is Stroud more nice than Bryce? We know that Carolina moved up. They said, hey, we want to get up and go get that Bryce. Do they regret that at all right now? Start with you, Dalton.
Well, I've been thinking about this question because to me, this is the toughest question of the night. And I think a lot of people think this is easy. But here's how I look at it. You just mentioned it. They move up to get him. But here's what I'll say. I think if the Texans could have got him, they would have. Stroud fell to them, and they were smart enough to get him because I really think they're comparable talent-wise. But C.J. Stroud is just, he's protecting the football. He's playing. He's the best rookie by far in the NFL. I've been very happy with what I've saw so far. But I also think there's, maybe the Texans have a little bit better of a defense to help them out. Carolina Panthers are absolutely terrible. But we also thought that the Texans would be terrible to start the year. But there's one person that is not terrible, and that's C.J. Stroud. So right now, I think Stroud is more nice than Bryce.
Hey, look, both of them were bad teams, so they both had to make some choices. Coach, what's your input on this?
Yeah, Strauss is better. He's a lot nicer right now. But it all goes back to, what are you drafting for? Are you drafting because that's the hottest ticket on the board? Or are you actually drafting for what's going to get you to where you need to be? Because it's obvious, Carolina, y'all moved up that far to get Bryce Young, but you ain't got nobody to protect him. So what good is it to bring in Bryce Young? What good would it have been to even brought in C.J. Stroud? It didn't matter if you brought Tom Brady out of retirement. If you can't block, it doesn't matter who the guy is behind your line. You're never going to be successful with that. So it was a dumb draft pick to me. And if I was Bryce Young, I would have pulled out my inner Eli Manning and just been like, no, dog, I ain't playing for y'all. Because they don't have anything that's going to keep him upright. So C.J. Stroud, he's on a higher cloud than Bryce Young right now because he can actually stand on his 2 feet when a play is over with instead of getting up off his back. So until Bryce Young gets to a better offensive line in front of him, he's going to continue to be behind C.J. Stroud no matter what they accomplished in college football.
Hey, wreak some havoc.
Well, I mean, Coach touched on it really well. Bryce Young went to a team with a horrible offensive line, and they also did a lousy job of surrounding him with outside talent, like with the receivers. I mean, Adam Thielen's at the end of his career on his last legs, and DJ Chark, I mean, the Jaguars released him 2 years ago, and I think he's done too. So that's to Bryce's credit, but right now, CJ Stroud is playing a lot better football. I do acknowledge he's in a better situation, but he's making better decisions. He looks more comfortable in the pocket. And it does help that he's got more size than Bryce Young. He has an easier time finding throwing lanes and seeing over the line of scrimmage with those tall linemen. But yeah, it's going to be, it's tough to say, but right now, yeah, definitely CJ Stroud, and he's more nice than Bryce.
Well, you know what? I say the two best for last because this is a tender conversation for these two Bama boys. So let's get two turn.
Man, I wouldn't say it's a tender thing. I mean, I don't think you can judge either one of these quarterbacks. I mean, obviously you got to give CJ Stroud his props for what he's doing right now. But like I said, we do this all the time with these hypotheticals. Do we honestly think that if you swap the roles of either one of them, you think CJ would be doing what he's doing now in Carolina? And do we think Bryce would be doing what CJ's doing? I'm not saying Bryce would be, have the 4 straight 300-yard games like Stroud, but it's a way better situation. And I'm going to touch on what Dalton said. Not only does Houston have the best rookie on offense, they have the best rookie on defense too. Will Anderson and CJ Stroud are the best rookies in the NFL, and it's not arguable. And, you got to look at the head coaches too. D'Amico Ryans, former Roll Tide, Alabama player, also legend, linebacker. Dude, this guy is amazing. What he's already doing in year one is unreal. Apparently, people tend to forget. San Francisco's defense is what it is right now because of D'Amico Ryans.
True.
They're just continuing his system. So I believe the Houston Texans organization as a whole is taking a huge step forward and are going to be very good and way quicker than people expect because we know he knows defense. But the question was, in the NFL, can a defensive coordinator know offense? And he brings in a rookie, and they're breaking records in the first 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the thing is with Bryce, and this is my honest opinion, obviously he doesn't have a line. And we laughed about it a few weeks ago, fellas, when I sat there and told y'all they traded off their best weapon because we talked about Justin Fields didn't have weapons. What did DJ Moore do last week? That was his receiver one at Carolina. So now you got, like Havoc said, last leg, no knees, Adam Thielen out here doing good, but they're not creating no separation. Every single throw is a tight window. If it's not absolutely perfect, it's either an interception or it's knocked down. I mean, look at this past weekend against the Lions. Bryce didn't play bad. He threw for 250 yards, 3 touchdowns, but he had 2 picks. One of them was tipped. The other one was he just didn't get the ball out quick enough. And, that could be a testament to how good his line is because, at Alabama, he's used to having pressure and running away and getting away. But as we've noticed, Bryce has got 4 or 5 fumbles this year because he's used to be able to slip away and make things happen in college, but the game's so much faster right now, he hasn't adjusted to that yet.
Right.
Now, I think as they continue to go forward, not maybe this year, I mean, he's going to get better this year, obviously, but you're not going to see the major improvements this year. They get him a couple pieces, and once he continues to the speed of the game with his little elusiveness where he can just slip things and be, precise, when they've opened the playbook, he's had success, but when you're running 5-yard stops on first through third down, it's not much you can do. So I think CJ is better right now, but I honestly think these guys are going to be neck and neck in the NFL for a long time.
That's going to be interesting to see. Wrap us up, Tua.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I actually like Stroud coming out of Ohio State. I thought he was going to be a decent quarterback because he played great at Ohio State. And he can make all the throws. He's bigger than Bryce, stronger than Bryce. I think he's maybe even have a better arm than Bryce. But, like everybody else said, I'm not going to judge Bryce off this year. There's a reason he was the number 1 pick. I mean, the Carolina Panthers stunk, and they were terrible. And as Tony said, they got rid of the best DJ Moore, they basically got rid of their best receiver to bring in a quarterback. Makes absolutely no sense. I think the Texas coaching staff's doing a little bit better about putting Stroud in positions where he can succeed. And I also think there's a little more pressure that comes from being the number one pick. So I think Bryce is going to be just fine. But yeah, I mean, right now I think Stroud is more nice than Bryce currently.
All right. Talk about some unbiased people tonight. Wow. Okay. Hey, check it out, guys. In that same vein, I want you guys to kind of dig in a little bit about the first round draft pick itself and the kind of the history of it, and is it a successful thing or not? The slide says, although in no rise, these guys are the highest paid, and we expect them to go take us to the highest places, to the promised land. So my question is, and I'll begin with you, Tua, has the first round draft pick itself been a bust?
I don't think so. I mean, if you look over the course of history, most of these NFL teams, their GMs are, obviously they, probably know a little bit more about football than I do. But when you look at who they're picking, I mean, they're picking the perceived best players in the country. And, you got guys like, Peyton Manning, Matthew Stafford, Cam Newton, Troy Aikman, David Carr. That's five guys that had just NFL Hall of Fame careers, basically. And then you got guys like David Carr, and I remember, when David Carr came out for the draft, everybody in the country thought he was great. But some of these guys just don't pan out for whatever reason. They don't put in the work. Ryan Leaf, for example, he had more talent all around than Peyton Manning ever did. He had a better arm. He was just as big. He could process offenses, but he just did not put in the work when he got paid. And that's, I think the majority of the time they get these picks right. Some years are better than others just because you got guys at the top of the draft that are willing to put in the work. But yeah, I don't think teams are doing a terrible job. It's just, some guys pan out. The majority of them, I think, do pan out.
It's interesting. I read a stat. I can't remember the exact stat, but it's a very low number of number one draft picks that actually make the Hall of Fame. And it was that's a very interesting stat to me. So what do you say, Dalton?
So I'm glad you said that about the Hall of Fame. That was one thing I was going to bring up. Let's just go over the names real quick that are in the Hall of Fame that were a number one draft pick. And I'm not going to name them all, but Charlie Trippy, NFL Hall of Famer from the University of Georgia, kind of innovated a new style of offense. I mean, he was running around all over the place, could play three different positions. O.J. Simpson, to put it blatantly honest, he killed the competition. Terry Bradshaw, the ball-headed assassin. Okay, this man had 5 Super Bowls, I believe. Unbelievable career. Earl Campbell, John Elway, Troy Aikman, like Kevin spoke about, and Peyton Manning. And then you've got guys like this. Matt Stafford, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, some new guys. And one that I want to mention that, is on the other side of the ball, Trayvon Walker. That kind of shocks a lot of people, but his second year in the league is looking pretty good. So I think overall the first pick in the draft is great. And it's been successful. So that's how I'm going to leave it.
One other point I meant to make, I look at a guy like Alex Smith, when he was drafted first. When he got drafted, he went to a team where they try to sometimes fit, round pegs into square holes. And, they try to take everything the quarterback did great in college and put him in a completely different system, how they want him to play. you look at the guys that really do well in the NFL. Their coaching staff is smart enough to say, okay, this is what this guy does well. So I'm 85% of the plays I'm going to call are going to be what he does well, not what we want him to do well. So,
Right. That's
and Alex Smith had an incredible career after, he got traded to when Andy Reid, I believe, got a hold of him.
Yeah.
So once he got that level of coaching and they started doing things he did well, short passes, getting it out quick, he flourished.
Right.
Then he got injured, of course. So
yeah, great point.
Came back and had a great year after getting injured. That's what's crazy.
Turn us up, Tony.
Yeah, I don't think the first round pick in itself is a bust. I think teams are bust, and first round teams are bust. Specifically speaking, the Tennessee Titans are a big one. I mean, these guys have whiffed back-to-back years picking a damn quarterback.
It's the same teams picking at the
You
top.
got Ryan Tannehill at quarterback, who is god awful. Guy's never been good. When he left A&M, I didn't think he was good. He sucked in Miami. He sucked in Tennessee. You got all the weapons in Tennessee. You wasted a Super Bowl team. Tennessee could have won a Super Bowl 2 years ago if they had a quarterback. But they draft Willis from Liberty. Come on, man. I ain't got to speak on this. And then you draft freaking Will Levis, the mayonnaise monster, to come in. And this dude's freaking garbage, too. You're fighting over who you want to keep on the team.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got these other quarterbacks in the league that you could trade for to pick up for it. But then you got, like I said, there's other teams that nail it, man. I mean, the Dolphins have been nailing it. The Eagles have been nailing it. I mean, it's just the Texans, they're nailing it right now. The Patriots used to nail it with freaking late round picks instead of first rounders. They used to be like, here, you can have our first round picks. We don't need them. Here, we'll give them to Chicago. They ain't going to use them right anyway. So, I don't think the first round's a bust because you got to look at it like, man, we got 4 quarterbacks right now from one class that it's arguably the greatest quarterback class of the past probably 10, 15 years. You got Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa, Justin Herbert, and Jordan Love in the same draft. Jordan Love, I know he had a tough outing, but this kid's going to be a stud. He's going to be. You just got to give him time to get him some weapons. I mean, you got to think his best receiver's Lizard.
I don't know about
I don't
that.
even think Lazard's there, but I'm just saying that's his best player. I mean, you got Jordan Love later. It wasn't even a high first round, and like Kevin was saying, man, you got these coaches. Brian Flores, for a prime example, he almost ruined Tua's career. This guy didn't want Tua in the beginning when he got drafted. He didn't want him on the team. He would make jokes, not even jokes. He would make it seem like a joke. He would make comments to Tua throughout the season about getting rid of him. And then you bring in another guy, and the flower starts to bloom instantly. I mean, you got to go – if you're a GM, I honestly think GM's got to step away and start letting the coaches do more of the drafting because a lot of these GMs, they just – like you said, they go with the hot pick, like JP said. They just pick a guy who, everybody else is high on. They don't look at what's best for their team. When teams are picking the first round what's best for their team, they kill it. When they're just going off a hype, they ruin their franchise and a young man's career.
Havoc.
Well, as far as the first round pick, I agree with you guys. I wouldn't call it a bust, but it does depend on the year and the team. And like, here's a prime example. A couple years ago, the San Francisco 49ers draft Trey Lance. We all can agree he was a bust. And then last year they found Brock Purdy in the 7th round. So that right there, it shows you, hey, well, we obviously missed the scouting report on here, but they still found a franchise quarterback. Now, other examples, Cam Newton, Trevor Lawrence turned teams around, whereas Ryan Leaf set a team back. So it does depend on the year. It depends on the team, and it depends on the organization. Then you guys remember with the Rams, they made the T-shirt F them picks and won a Super Bowl with it. So, but it's still not a bust. The draft can definitely turn teams around, and a lot of teams, especially my Jaguars, this team was in the crap hole before Trevor Lawrence got there. We were going nowhere with Minshew. Made the playoffs with Trevor Lawrence last year and upset the Bills last Sunday.
All right. Dumpster juice.
Well, I'm gonna touch on a little bit of what Two Turn said. You know, nowadays in the draft, it's about who's the hottest guy, and it's all about money now. It used to be about a gold jacket. Now it's about money. So the players that came out back then, you know, all the ones that Dalton named and the ones that Kevin named, they played for a Hall of Fame career. They didn't go in for the money. Now they're after the money, and the teams are coming at players like we got the money. But this is the twist that I'm gonna put on this whole segment. This is how quick you can go from being a first round pick that turned a franchise around to a first round bust, and that's what everybody's going to label you as because of the situation. Bryce Young, this kid is a Hall of Famer. Do you understand what I'm saying? I care less that he Alabama and I'm Georgia. I know what talent he is. I know where he's been. I know what he can do. I've seen what he's done. Bryce Young is a Hall of Famer. But if Bryce Young has 8 more interceptions this year, 4 more lost fumbles this year, then he gets injured and he's out, say, 6 weeks, and he misses the rest of the season, you're automatically now finna put Bryce Young in the bust chart because that team caused him to become a bust. So it's all about what you're drafting and when you're drafting and how smart you draft. True enough, Bryce Young wouldn't have been available if you had just waited. But if you're going to trade up for Bryce Young, then you need to do something else that's spectacular, and you need to come up and, like they illustrated in the first segment, get him some type of weapon instead of trading him off to Chicago, or get him some lineman that's going to come in there and he's just dirt dog nasty, and he's going to protect him. Now you're turning that first round pick into a golden pick, and it's going to look like you've done the right thing. But how quick can you label somebody an NFL bust? Bryce Young got all the talent in the world to be a Hall of Famer, but if you don't draft right around him, you turn him into a bust.
Listen, I watched Bryce Young at Alabama, and there were times where Bryce Young looked magnificent to me. But there were times when I felt like he was relying too much on the system than some other quarterbacks do. Sometimes, and here's what I'm saying, sometimes a first round draft pick can come in and they can be the difference. I think Bryce is used to having what the guy said before, all of that Alabama hardware. And we know he had, Alabama, man, their line, I think Nick Saban dreams about defensive linemen and offensive linemen every night. And so he did not have that. He does not have that in Carolina. But Joe Burrow didn't have that in Cincinnati. He played pretty well. So all I'm saying is I don't think Bryce is without talent. I think a lot of these first round draft picks have talent, but some of them is a plus multiplier. They can do more with less. And so, no, he's not a bust. I would not say he's a Hall of Famer. Not yet.
Oh, potential.
I know, even hypothetically, because we got to see him take leadership. Have you ever seen anybody with a greater smile than Bryce Young?
Yeah.
When you look at Bryce Young, you just love the kid. He's an amazing kid. But I do believe that if I was Carolina, I'd bench Bryce Young.
I
would bench Bryce and I would play the Red Rooster. I think he gives him the best chance to win right now.
Yeah, there's no harm in that. I agree. I don't want to ruin the guy's confidence either, getting sacked 3 or 4 times a game.
Right.
You know, and we can all, there's an argument. Like you said, to Burrow. Didn't they draft Jefferson or whoever with Burrow.
No,
Burrow-
he
Jamar.
came
was already
he came
there.
a year later.
No, they
he
drafted
had-
Chase a year
Burrow,
later,
Jamar
and they
Chase
had T.
came in
Higgins
together.
already.
Did they come
Yeah.
in together?
Yes, you had.
No,
you
T.
had, so-
Higgins was the same draft, and then Chase came the next year.
That's what I thought.
But-
I'm pretty
yeah.
I'm pretty sure he
T.
came.
But that's
in
my point. I mean, that's my point. You know, and,
Either
and
way,
Joe,
you had
and,
three
look,
receivers.
you know,
had
and Joe, you know, there's Joe Burrow's
Joe
a dog.
Mixon.
You know, he's
Right.
Joe Burrow when you know, I'm not sure what's going on with him this year, but you know, we've seen him with a terrible offensive line perform like a Hall of Famer. You know, and,
Right.
and I agree. You're right, Barry. I mean, it eventually, you know, I'm not the first year, but within the first, you know, contract years for a quarterback, you got to prove that, hey, even if you don't have, you know, the best available talent around you, you can still get that team to 8-9 wins. you know.
Right.
But
And you know,
this is what I was saying also. Barry, you said Joe Burrow and Bryce Young. Both of them are dinged up because of what?
Line.
So in order for either one of them guys to be successful, that's what you got to draft. It doesn't matter if you got Marshawn Lynch Jr. coming out in college football. If you got a chance to get you some sweat hogs, dude, get the hogs, because you're letting the value of them go down by ignoring them, knowing that you need them.
And you got to do it early
Yeah.
before they hit that second
Yes.
quarterback contract. Otherwise, you're not
Well-
going to have money to do it.
And
Exactly.
in my opinion, as an NFL quarterback, when you come into the league, your first 2 years are basically a wash, right? This is my personal opinion of how every team should go. If you're going to throw a quarterback out there the first year, you don't judge them at all off that first year. You let them take their lumps. You know, they go out there and do whatever. The second year, you expect to see some improvement. Year 3 is time you got to show me. You got to put up or shut up, basically. Like it's just like we was talking about Tua last year. That was his year. You got to show us something if we're going to go forward with you. And I think that's how it should be with every quarterback. Year 3 is your year. You have to show major improvement. I'm not saying Super Bowl. I'm not saying even playoffs. But you have to put up the stats as a quarterback to show that you can protect the ball, you can hit those windows, you can make the reads, and you can make explosive plays. And after that, then I can't stand that it's today's world that there's no more Peyton Mannings where you give them their two years to screw up, and then they just take off because they got the experience, and then you got them players, and they're here now.
well, you know, you guys brought up some points about systems that these guys fall to, the coaches that they have, you know, the roster. And now one thing that we have to consider too now is NIL. Well, how does NIL relate to the NFL draft? Well, if I'm a college player and I'm good and I'm at a good situation and I'm getting paid already, and a team come up that I don't want, maybe I stay in college an extra year. You know, you have to think about that. So the draft to me now is getting a little bit, you know, weird, you know, or interesting. So me personally, I hate the idea that the last place team always gets the first round pick, the first pick. I think it sets people up to want to tank. And you can't tell me if you got a couple of games left and it's the difference in getting that number 1 draft pick that you're not going to lose them games. It's a business at the end of the day. So the question I have for you guys is, would you like to see this, and who would benefit more from an NFL lottery, the league, the players, or the teams? Dalton.
So I might have the most interesting take on this one. I might have to say that, fellas. You have 2 options here, okay? The only 2 things you can do to improve, let's say for the league, the players, the fans, because you got to throw the fans in this as well. The only 2 things you can do is number 1, add the USFL and the XFL together and it work out like the English Premier League in soccer. The top 3 teams in the USFL and the XFL, they get promoted to the NFL. And the bottom 3 teams in the NFL, no matter their history, no matter anything, they get demoted down. That right there would change the sport, and there would be no more tanking. And then also it opens up. I think obviously you have more teams, you've got more fans. I think it would be great for football. I would love to see it. Option number 2. And this is where it kind of gets weird because I don't know if this would happen. But to prevent tanking, here's what you do. Instead of it being the last place team, make it the last 8. Okay, those last 8, they're not making the playoffs. So let's put them in a lottery-style draft. But the only thing that worries me about a lottery-style draft is, who was it? The Vancouver Grizzlies that got cheated out of a number 1 pick because of their location in NBA. There was something weird in the NBA where they just said, no, this team's getting it. So I don't know if it's really random, but if it could be truly random and the 8 teams could be picked upon, that would be the only other option. But I'm going with option A, and I would like to hear some feedback on option A at the end of this.
Coach.
I think it'll be the teams. And the only reason why I say that is because if I end up winning a Super Bowl and then I get a chance to get the number 1 pick, y'all just in trouble again.
Well, you're not going to get the number 1 pick in the lottery if you win the Super Bowl, because it's going to be the bottom level of it. Right.
Oh no. The only ones that'll benefit out of that is gonna be the player. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because you're gonna be garbage and get paid a whole lot of money. So to me, the player is gonna benefit the most out of that just because he's gonna get the money. Teams, y'all really ain't gonna benefit on it, because if you're in the bottom of a lottery, it ain't no different than what it is in the draft. You at the beginning of the draft, so you were trash at the end of the season, and you're still gonna be trash. So to me, I think it's gonna be the player that'll benefit the most, because who wouldn't want your name called knowing good and well that you would have never went in that slot if it wasn't for some other team actually needing that player in that position?
Tony.
I actually agree with Dalton. I mean, me and Dalton's actually talked about this before, because the USL, golly, I'm getting tongue tied. The XFL and the whatever I keep trying to say, they're actually merging. They've just completed a deal to merge, and even if it doesn't get to the point to the NFL teams relegating, this needs to be kind of like a G League type deal, where they can basically promote players from this league. Because I mean, it ends up being just like the transfer portal in college. I mean, you can get these kids out of high school, but you can also get these proven players. So I could draft the hottest thing, but I could also draft this guy, who was a 2-time All-American in college, but tore his ACL, and he just now got his way back, and now he's got 72 tackles and 4 forced fumbles. You know what I mean? But if just judging based off the slide, I would say the league benefits most, man, because how many times do we get here and we know who the number 1 draft pick is 4 months before the draft? Right? There's no excitement in that. I don't get excited for the draft anymore, guys. I don't know about y'all. The only time I get excited is me being an Alabama fan, and I see the list of guys when they're like, Alabama has a chance to break Miami's record for most first-round draft picks. Then I'm excited. I'm like, dang, we can break the Miami Hurricanes, like the classic Hurricanes record. Okay, I'm going to watch now. But I don't get excited to sit here. Like, we knew Bryce Young was going number 1 back in March. And I'm like, okay, we know the number 1 pick's going to be. Who's fighting for 2? Is it Will Anderson or is it C.J. Stroud? And then they end up both at the same place. So that was exciting. But, if there's a lottery, all the players getting to meet with these GMs and stuff like they're wanting to, but they don't know where they're going. So it creates a more genuine response from the players, the coaches, and the fans. At the place, I mean, you see fans booing before the pick comes out, whether that's Roger Goodell or the player. It's a little bit of both, in my opinion. But you got that lottery style, and I think they should announce it minutes before the draft starts. You announce 5 minutes before the draft, the Washington Commanders got the number 1 pick. Bam, they got 5 minutes to make that pick. How excited is that?
No, you can't do that, man.
Why not?
I would like that. Hey, I would like that.
That's not a I mean, I don't know. Maybe it could work, but I just think that's not enough time.
This is why I say that, because how fair is it to announce a month before that this team's got the number 1 pick due to the lottery, and they got a whole month to prepare, and the 2nd through 6th picks, they have to wait and judge their picks based off who doesn't go first. So they really do get 5 minutes to pick sometimes.
Well, at the end of the day, it really is not going to matter anyway that much, because I think that if you're a team, you're going to be researching based on your needs. So whenever you got to go, you're on the clock. You know what you want already. So maybe that's not a biggest issue, but it just sounds weird when you're talking about billion-dollar companies having to make a decision like that. In 5 minutes. That's just like that's unheard of in business.
But hypothetically speaking, like you just said, I mean, you got to look. You're saying they're supposed to pick based off what they need, but then we got teams like the Titans who are waiting around in the top 10 or top 15, and then they waste a pick on Will Levis, knowing they need offensive linemen, knowing they need another quarterback. I mean, not another.
And here's the other thing before I pass it to Havoc that you're missing too, though, because it's not always about what you need. It's about the actual pick and what you want to do with it. Because sometimes you're going to trade that pick off. So there's a lot more dynamics going on than just making a selection. What do you say, Havoc?
Well, from a lottery-based system, the league would benefit. But if you think about it as a whole, there's still more than one round of the NFL draft. So the lottery is really only going to affect the first round. How many times do you see teams that their first round pick may have been a bad pick, and then 3, 4, 5, they nailed it? This happens every year, guys. A prime example, the Rams, Puka Nacua. Dude, they got this guy in the 5th round, and he's one of the leaders in receiving yards. They got Cooper Kupp in the 2nd round. Neither one of these guys were first round picks. So with a lottery-based system, the only ones that would exactly Tony Romo. The lottery-based system, it's only going to really benefit the league. It'll even itself out after the first round.
Coach, toss some sense into these boys.
I'm still going with the player.
You with the player. Okay. Havoc's with the league. Dalton, did you say who you was with?
I said I'm with the fans. Give us a league of relegation possibilities and promotion from a secondary league. It prevents tanking, and then the draft as a whole is like you have to earn your draft pick if you want to look at it that way. Instead of being given a draft pick, no, you have to finish either the top 27 teams in the NFL or the top 3 in the XFL, USFL, whatever they combine the league and call it. But that's what I'm saying. Earn your draft pick and think about it. Then it kind of, it don't really matter the lineup. Because if you just do a randomized order, as long as the top 10s can't possibly be in the bottom 10, I think it's fair.
Well, I want to revisit this later with you guys and learn more about what y'all cooking up with this XSL thing. It sounds kind of weird to me, but I'm willing to take a little time and understand a little bit more about that. But I want Too Legit to quit to wrap us up. What do you think about this lottery system for the NFL?
I wouldn't personally like it. I think the NBA does it right because one player can literally change the trajectory of their franchise immediately. I don't think one player, I don't even, Trevor Lawrence, the most recent guy like Havoc was talking about, I don't think without Doug Peterson and the guys they put around him, I don't think that he could have done much, different than anybody else that was on a terrible team. But, the players would benefit the most from the lottery system because like you were talking about, Beast, I don't think, I would, if I was the number one pick, I wouldn't want to go to the Browns. I wouldn't want to go to the Jets. I wouldn't want to go to Carolina. All these are horrible run organizations. And it's, it really sucks for the top 3 or 4 picks because they're all going to terribly run organizations. So I
Right.
guess in one sense, in the NFL, they're smart enough to they've got the highest grossing league in the world year over year. It just keeps growing and growing. And, I don't think they would benefit. If the NFL would benefit from it, they would change it. But
I tend to agree with you that possibly the players do benefit the most. Um, you know, my thing is maybe it's working how they have it. Um, we just talked in pregame about how much parity there is in the league. We don't know how to pick some of these games, and if you look at my pick'em record, you'll understand that I'm struggling real bad. You'll think I
Man,
never saw football.
well, the parity I think comes from. And I absolutely love the rookie contracts, the new rookie wage scale, and all that because that does give teams that are run good the chance to catch up with the teams that have already established that they're great at the draft. And because you get if you let's just say like the Brock Purdy in the 49ers, I mean that dude's going to be cheap for the next 5 years. So the 49ers can just remain loaded year after year until it's time to pay him his $150 million.
I'm not so sure about that. I think if Purdy wins that Super Bowl this year, it's going to be some negotiating. I don't know if you can have a Super because I picked them to win it. I think they win that Super Bowl. And
Yeah, I
you
do
can't
too.
have a Super Bowl quarterback not making money.
Hey, but they technically don't have to pay him. The ball's in their court.
Right.
Mhm.
And when you got
But okay, so
if you're the Browns, you pay him. If you got Kyle Shanahan as your head coach,
Mhm.
that guy can turn me into an NFL All Pro. I
Exactly.
think
Brock Purdy would
he's
get-
great
Yes.
Yep.
Like you're-
because they could say Purdy, you can go on. We'll take Mac Jones from the Patriots.
Bingo.
And we'll just keep on running the same system that we always run.
But
And we'll make it to the playoffs every year.
But this is very interesting talk that y'all doing tonight. But I give myself a little bit of the credit for for bringing these questions before you guys. But that is a really interesting idea. What will happen if Purdy wins the Super Bowl? Will they pay him or just sit back and make him? I think in business a lot of times, man, people, and I know we done went long on this segment, so we definitely gonna have to chop this one up. They don't like their star people, especially men and on them football teams, to be in that locker room saying, man, eating that tuna fish, man. But hey, I'm winning them games. It'll cause problems. They have to pay these guys, especially when they win at that level. It's the difficult way to look at it, but we'll see. That was a good segment, guys. Hey, look, to round off of our draft kind of talk, of all the players that's been drafted that are currently playing in the league right now, if you were a GM, each of you, and you can go out and select 9 players right now. Okay, obviously, I want to hear about the quarterbacks, running backs, and the receivers. Okay, out of the whole business. And it was about money, not necessarily about loyalty. Money, winning. Kevin, what are you doing?
Oh man, this is kind of a tough one because I'm a stat guy. I love stats. So I mean, my top 3 quarterbacks, I think Tua is number 1 for me. And that might get some pushback, but he's leading the league in passing. He's got 100, above 100 QB rating. If I were starting a team, just me, if I were starting a team, and I was kind of down on him coming into this year, but I'd probably start with Josh Allen, the most athletic, big quarterback since Roethlisberger. And I think he's going to be in the league a long time. And of course, Patrick Mahomes, he's not having the year he's had the last couple of years, but I've seen enough out of him to where I know what he can do. So that's my top 3 quarterbacks. My running backs, Christian McCaffrey, he's the do-it-all. He can catch, run. I think he's actually number 1 in fantasy football too. So, I mean, he's scoring points for everybody. My number 2 might surprise people, but I do like Miami. But I mean, this guy's like the number 2 rated fantasy football, and it's Devon Achane from Miami. He's having a great year. That dude's averaging like 12-something yards a carry. Just every time he give him the ball, he's electric. And to round out my running backs, and just like I said, I'm just basing solely off this year. Zach Moss, he's having a great year. He's kind of carrying that entire offense in Indy. So that's those. My top 3 receivers, again, I'm going to go down South Beach and Tyreek Hill. He's a horse. He's he's so good, that nobody really can cover him. And I would take Stephon Diggs next. He's a beast in Buffalo. He's got a great quarterback. And Justin Jefferson, Justin Jefferson kind of reminds me of Julio. He's a big guy, can run, catches everything thrown to him. And so that's my top 3 in those positions.
Okay, I'm gonna give you one quick chance at a tight end. Give me a quick tight end for yourself.
I'm taking Greg Kittle.
Greg Kittle.
Yeah,
right.
out of San Francisco. I think he is. I know a lot of people are high on Kelce, and don't get me wrong, Kelce's great, but I think Greg Kittle is
George.
amazing. I'm sorry, George Kittle. I think he's amazing. He's the safety valve for Brock Purdy. He can run like a deer, and he's a big dude. So
Yeah, that dude is good. Dalton.
So I agree. His name is George, but he does look like a Greg.
I don't know where I got Greg from, and I like the Niners.
He looks like a Greg.
There is a Greg Little, but isn't he a lineman?
Maybe.
But quarterbacks here. I think top 3, if everybody's healthy, let's go Pat Mahomes, number 1. That's a shoe in, it seems like. Number 2 for me, Josh Allen. I think he is fantastic, and he would have been in a Super Bowl already if it wasn't for number 1, Pat Mahomes. Number 3, this might ruffle feathers, but man, I truly think number 3 is Jalen Hurts. I think it's Jalen Hurts. I like what he's doing. He's undefeated right now. Probably on his way to another NFC Championship game, possibly a Super Bowl. But, I like him. Running backs, number 1, Christian McCaffrey. He is unreal. Number 2, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say DeAndre Swift. I love DeAndre Swift. I mean, out of the backfield, catching the ball, he's had more receiving yards, I think, already this year than he's had in his whole entire career any season. It's at least close. Rushing yards, he has 434. He's on a great team, but he was doing this with the Lions and not even playing every game, of the year. So I like him. Number 3 on that list, I'm going to go with the Miami running back, and I'm not even going to attempt his last name. I have to watch the highlight to get the name, but 460 yards rushing. He has totally made the Miami offense complete. Now it's not just worry about Tyreek or Tua or Jalen. Now you got to worry about this guy running the football. Wide receivers. Man, wide receivers, it seems like it changes every year. Top 3 for me. Number 1, I'm going Justin Jefferson. I mean, when he's healthy, he is the best in the game. Number 2, I'm going to go Tyreek Hill. I think he is an absolute game changer. And it don't matter who his quarterback is, let's be honest. He's unreal. Number three, I have to go with number three is the hardest one. I tell you what, I'm going to pause on number three. I don't have a number three. Number one and number two is Jefferson and Tyreek Hill. Number three, I'm undecided.
Okay. All right. Coach.
Well, first of all, they didn't draft, so they're rookies, and they don't have any stats. So I'm not looking at stats. I'm looking at why I'm drafting them and what I'm drafting them for. All right. On my quarterbacks, I'm going to get Purdy. I got a guy who can manage the game and complete the drill. He's tough as nails, but he's also smart. So I'm going to go and I'm going to get Purdy as my number one. My number two is going to be Tua, because now I got a quarterback who can sling the ball and it's coming at you left-handed. So everything on the defensive side of the ball, you have to put in a mirror reverse, because it's not coming at you like your regular conventional quarterbacks, and neither is the play calling. And then my number three quarterback is going to be Hurts. The one guy who I know for a fact is going to keep your defense on the field for a very long time and is going to wear you down. And anything that's something and short, you know we're picking it up, and that's 4 more fresh downs. So I'm getting Jalen Hurts for that reason. My running backs. Number one, I'm going to get McCaffrey, because with all three of those quarterbacks, you can do something amazing with that running back. But here's the kicker. His two backups are rookies in the NFL today. And that's, what's his name? A-Chain from Miami and Robinson from Atlanta. Because those two guys are going to save McCaffrey's body, because they're going to bruise you. Because those are two hard runners. So now I got two guys who are running in between the tackles and wear you down. And then I got McCaffrey as my ace that can do everything all over the field with those three quarterbacks. My wide receivers. My first one is Hill, because he can take the top off of any defense. That's going to make the run game look even better. My second guy is Diggs. Diggs runs perfect routes. He knows how to get open. He can find the bubble no matter who you are on defense, whether you're playing me man, you're playing me zone, or you're trying to bracket me. Diggs know how to find the open spot. But the shocker to everybody, my third receiver is CeeDee Lamb. And the reason why CeeDee Lamb is my third receiver, because one of the best third down receivers in the league right now is CeeDee Lamb. So when I'm looking for that 3rd and 7, that 3rd and 5, or anything that's intermediate, CeeDee Lamb is the guy I know I can go to that'll come down with the ball. So those are my picks.
Wow. What's up, Tony? You're muted.
Muted.
With the quarterbacks, and I'm going to shake things all up. I'm not going with, the hottest thing right now. I'm going off the most consistent. I mean, you can add the rookies involved, though, but a lot of people, y'all are picking A-Chain. I don't know if y'all checked the update. This man's out for 4 weeks. So I agree he's a talent, but how many times we've seen rookies come in, do 2 or 3 games, get hurt, and then they disappear. So quarterback, he ain't even on the field right now. He don't have to touch the field. He is the top 3 quarterback in the league, sitting on the sideline right now, talking about how Travis Kelce's vaccinated. Aaron Rodgers, 10 times out of 10, I'm picking Aaron Rodgers. I don't care if he's one-legged hopping around. He can go out there right now and do better than Zach Wilson right now. No doubt in my mind, he can walk out there with that rolling scooter and win games. I'm going Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, and then I got 3A and 3B. It's Tua and Jalen. And the reason why I have them both 3A and 3B is those two guys both do one thing very well. You build your system around those two guys' strengths, and they are going to maximize any team they're on. You run Jalen style of offense. I don't care where you put them at. You run that style of offense, and you just put decent players on the team. You're going to win. You run Tua style, the RPO style, and the ability to take the top off. It's going to work. I don't care where you're at. You give those guys their strengths, they're going to win. And then we'll go to running back. Derrick Henry, I don't care if he's on the Titans right now. I don't care what team he goes. Derrick Henry is the best running back in the NFL. The past 5 years, breakaway number one. He's not the number one currently off the season, but you put Derrick Henry on the San Francisco 49ers, and he's running for 2,500 yards and 30 touchdowns, and it ain't no questions asked.
That's true.
So Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, and I'm going to go – I can't stand the guy right now because he's so dumb. It's his fault. But Alvin Kamara, man, he might be an idiot, but that man on the field is an X factor, and you cannot stop him. I mean, they got Derek Carr at quarterback, and it's still hard to stop him. I mean, that tells you a lot. This one right here is the hardest for me, man. The receivers are so hard. The only one that's a lock-in is Tyreek Hill. No matter what team he's on, he can get open deep. You can throw him a screen. He can take it 80 yards running 23 miles an hour the whole time. They call him the cheetah for a reason. There might be two reasons they call him the cheetah, but one of them ain't show appropriate. Other receiver, man, this dude's Waffle House. He's open 24/7. Devontae Adams, dude. It don't matter who's throwing to him. Hey, Jimmy Garoppolo sucks. He's a winner. He's won games, but he sucks. He's got the luck of the Irish. He's got some gold in his shoes and a little leprechaun chasing him around because he's somehow winning games. But Devontae Adams, he's going to get his no matter who he's with, hurt regardless. There's not hardly anybody. If you gave me the best quarterback and I'm putting Devontae Adams with him, and I promise you he does better than any other receiver in the league with him. The third receiver is Jamar Chase. What did he say last week? I'm always effing open. I like a little cockiness. But guess what? He's a lot of cocky, and he got every right to be. Who can guard him? You tell me who in the league can guard him. There's only been one guy I've seen who can stop him, and that guy's got a torn ACL right now, and his name's Tre'Davious White. Outside of that, there's not a DB in the entire United States or across the country in any land around this circle body of water that can touch Jamar Chase on the field. I think if you could find a way to put these 9 guys that I just chose on 3 different teams, they're going to meet up 8 years straight. Dude, God, I would love to have let's go do a road to glory on Madden right now with these guys.
Havoc. Tell them what it really is. Wreak some havoc.
Ooh, here we go. All right. So for my quarterbacks, number 1, I got to go with Patrick Mahomes. And here's where it gets a little tricky. This part got harder for me. Number 2. Now I'm not making this in any particular order. I'm just basing it off. We needed 3 people. Number 2, I'm going to go with Trevor Lawrence. And then the third one, this one was hard for me because I was torn between Tua and Brock Purdy. But I got to go with Brock Purdy just for the simple fact Brock Purdy does not turn the ball over, and he takes a lot less sacks than Tua. That's why I have to go with Purdy. But that one was really hard. Then for the running backs, I got to go with Christian McCaffrey. Pretty sure all of us said Christian McCaffrey. Then number 2, this might surprise you guys, but I got to go with Travis Etienne. He just makes a big difference. He's very dual threat running back, can catch and run effectively. And then number 3, I know he just came back from his holdout, but I still got to go with Jonathan Taylor. He's just been a very consistent running back since he's been drafted out of the University of Wisconsin, where he rushed for 2,000 yards. Guy's been great since I've ever seen him, and he's a 4.3 40. For the wide receiver, it's going to sound boring because we all said Tyreek Hill, but I got to put him on that list too. And then just like Tony, I got to agree with Jamar Chase. I see an unguardable receiver every time I watch him. I don't see anyone that can guard him. The guy's just too quick. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he gets amazing separation. And then number 3, gotta go with Justin Jefferson. I know it sounds like I'm cherry picking for LSU, but I'm not an LSU fan. I assure you that. They just happen to have the 2 best receivers besides Tyreek Hill.
I will say, man, there's a ton of Alabama receivers in the league too, man. I mean, these last 3 years, the NFL draft the skills players. To me, they've been the best. They might be the best I ever seen. I just be honest with you, it's just so many.
Just think of the players that played each other, Barry. You got Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who played against Henry Ruggs, Jalen Waddle, Jerry Jeudy, Najee Harris in one game. Tua and Joe Burrow too.
You know, I'll say one last thing on that segment. I had this thought the other day. I was watching the Eagles play. And I thought about Jalen. And this is something I never, ever thought I'd say. Even though I supported Jalen, I never thought I would say that he looks like the best quarterback in the NFL. He looks so complete. Even over Tua, even over Patrick Mahomes, he just looks like he's so complete. Now, I will say this about you guys picking Tua and Jalen. They both got teams, especially Jalen, that is crazy. I mean, he has everything. And, you know, and I don't think it's going to be enough when San Francisco come to town. I just don't know. I don't know a team better than them. They look like Super Bowl team. Like, just go ahead and give them a trophy.
Oh, let me start this one off. Let's go.
Okay. So this one right here is which quarterback owes their defense the most and which defense owes their quarterback the most. Turn up.
Man, let me tell you. Let's start off real fast. This is a no-brainer. What quarterback owes his defense the most? Not only does he owe his defense, he better be sending a check to Houston to D'Amico Ryans weekly. Brock Purdy's got a roommate for a reason, fellas. It's because he's having to pay these defensive linemen for protecting his record. Brock Purdy, yes, he doesn't make mistakes. Who cares? Like we said, he's a product of the system. Shanahan could win with freaking Joe from the Crab Shack over here at quarterback. You only got – how many times have we seen Brock Purdy have to go through progressions and throw the ball 50 yards down the field? We don't. Brock Purdy usually doesn't make a pass more than 25 yards down the field. And when he does, it's usually wide open because you got Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey. I mean, what else? If you're a defensive coordinator going against these guys, how do you plan? You don't. So I love Brock Purdy. I think he's a great story. But this dude better be taking them, the linemen on the defense, everybody on defense, screw the linemen, he better be taking the coaches out weekly.
He can't afford it.
That's why he better be taking them out weekly. He better be leaving the tip too. Now, obviously, there's another no-brainer. Which team benefits from their offense the most? It's the Miami Dolphins. 100%. This defense has been 1,000% garbage this year compared to the years past. This is supposed to be a top 5 defense in the league. All we heard about is Miami's added this on defense. Miami's added, Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey opposite of each other. Well, Xavier Howard, you have looked like a bum this year, and you might be on Coach Price's truck before the weekend ends. Because y'all haven't done a dang thing. Bradley Chubb, you ain't done shit. You ain't done a damn thing the whole year since you've been in Miami last year. You ain't done nothing. This dude's supposed to be a great pass rusher. This guy's tripping over his own feet before he gets to the lineman. Dude, if it weren't for Tua, Tyreek, Jalen, and these running backs, Miami would be 2-4 already because they can't stop a soul. They gave up 20 to the freaking Broncos.
I don't care if they scored 70. You gave up 20 to the Broncos. Imagine they gave up 50 to the Bills, and they could have gave up 60 if the Bills really tried it. So they look good right now. But when they play a high-powered offense, they can't stop the run. As Nick Saban said, the Bills ran through their ass like shit through a tin horn. The Dolphins defense is trash.
Sounds like Miami is the LSU of the NFL. What do you say, Havoc?
Wow, that was a very good start. How Tony's not wrong, but I got to go with my Dallas Cowboys. Dak definitely needs to be thanking the defense, because I can tell you right now, if we had a quarterback that was better than Dak, we probably would only have one loss. We definitely wouldn't have lost to the Arizona Cardinals. So 100% Dak Prescott needs to be thanking our defense, and the defense that needs to be thanking their quarterback. Tony, I was torn between this one because Tony made a great point with Tua. And it sounds like I pick on the Chargers every week, but I got to go with the Chargers defense.
You
got to
do.
be thanking Justin Herbert. I mean, I just hate to see a quarterback as talented as Justin Herbert being wasted over there. And it's going to turn into another Phillip Rivers situation where he's there 10 to 15 years, a couple playoff appearances, great stats. Or Dan Fouts. Dan Fouts had some great stats, never won a Super Bowl, Hall of Famer. That's where I see Justin Herbert's career headed.
Wow, that's tough, man. I hate to think about Justin in that light. What say, Price?
Well, I'm going to put a twist to it all. To me, it's the Philadelphia Eagles. And you say, well, how is it the Philadelphia Eagles? Well, that offense benefits off that defense, and that defense benefits off that offense. And that's why they're undefeated. So, like I said, to me, you take Philly's defense away from them. You're putting Jalen Hurts in a shootout every week. You take Philadelphia's offense away, and now you got their defense on the field too much. So to me, it's complementary football with those two. So the offense should be taking the defense out for dinner, and the defense should take the offense out for breakfast. Because the bottom line is all y'all boys are eating, and the only reason why y'all eating is because what you're doing for each other. So to me, I say the Philadelphia Eagles, because like I said, dude, without that defense, that offense wouldn't be on the field with the comfortable leads and clock management that they have. And without that offense wearing down those opposing defenses, then that defense wouldn't be as fresh standing on the sideline watching Jalen Hurts and the rest of the boys do their thing on the field. So to me, it's the Philadelphia Eagles.
Sound like a perfect marriage. Do you agree, Dalton?
I don't know if I agree on the Eagles. I mean, you can't disagree with it. I'll say
It's a
that.
twist.
There's a point. There's definitely a point there, but I got the Detroit Lions. And one thing I'll say about the Detroit Lions, I think it's the offense should be thanking the defense, because the defense has been pretty good, and it's been good enough to let the Lions play freely on offense. And I do think the Lions is one of those teams, because Jared Goff is kind of shaky at times. If the defense wasn't good, they would probably have 2 or 3 more losses. So I'm gonna go Lions there, thanking the defense, but somebody thanking the offense. In my opinion, I'm gonna go on a different route here. It's the 49ers. They score every possession. You can forget about what the defense does. They score so much that it's like the referees call a huddle, and it's like, hey, guys, we're late in the third quarter here. You got to kind of stop because the game's getting out of hand, and you really haven't done anything spectacular yet. You're just beating them all over the place. So I'm going to go 49ers offense. I think they are slept on. Yeah, the defense is good, but the offense is just blowing through everybody. It ain't like they're winning close games because the defense is bailing them out. I mean,
right. Bama.
Well, my thunder was kind of stolen. I'm going with Dak Prescott from the Cowboys. Year in and year out, there's not a quarterback in the league that benefits from his defense more than Dak. I mean, he's been to the playoffs several times now, all because of his defense. Dak will throw in a 400-yard game 1 or 2 times a year, and then he'll throw in 148 yards, 0 TDs, and 4 turnovers in 3 or 4 other games. So Dak's clear cut number 1 for me. And I'm going to go with what Havoc said, man. The Chargers and Justin Herbert. There's not that defense benefits so much from Herbert. I mean, because they'd probably be winless without him. I mean, their defense is ranked in the bottom 3, I think, in the entire NFL. And somehow I think the Chargers are 2-2. Maybe 3-2. I don't know. They're either right at 500 or a game above, and that's all because of Herbert. So that's my 2.
And I don't understand either, man. This has to be an organizational issue, because if any of you guys have ever been to San Diego,
it's
there's
beautiful.
no place more beautiful than San Diego. I mean, when I get cremated, I just want my wife to take me to San Diego, old town, and just scatter me down there, man. It's the most beautiful place. Why can't they recruit to get help and get what they need down there? I don't really get that at all. But one last thing on this, I'm surprised nobody said anything about Zach Wilson. I know that's not a sexy team, but the Jets have kind of been in some mixes in some of these games, man. And we said that Zach Wilson haven't been playing great. I think he's been playing okay, but they still been in some games. So, that's one thing that I think that Zach Wilson is really benefiting from the Jets defense. You got something, Tony?
Yeah, I was going to say, just because you brought up San Diego real quick, this is how bad, man, they've been, like you said, generational. They had 1 year when it was with Phillip Rivers, LaDainian Tomlinson, they had the number 1 offense in the league, the number 1 defense in the league, and they
Sean
did
Marion.
not make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
How is that possible?
Okay. And call Arthur Blank and ask the Falcons.
If you watch, if you watch a San Diego game, they're generally, if they're at home, the opposing fans outnumber the San Diego. There's just not a lot. They don't have a lot of home support, and that's
why they moved.
They still don't.
Was it better? Was it better when they were in LA?
Yeah.
I don't know. Hey, look. I have turned us and converted us into a parole board. And sitting on the board, we've seen some interesting behavior out of these 4 characters. And I'm going to give each of you an opportunity to tell me, who are you going to release from prison? Dalton, who are you going to release?
I ain't releasing nobody. They're all trash at the moment. Justin Fields, I know well, let's just say you didn't shit in your Easter basket last weekend, but I ain't releasing nobody. They better call somebody else, because the bond's not getting approved here.
Wow. Coach, who are you letting out of jail?
Well, actually, I was going to agree with Dalton on that, and I'm going to keep all 4 of them in there, but there's only one guy that I'm actually let out, and that's because he's actually not really sucking all that bad, even though you're sitting at the bottom of your division like the rest of the guys are sitting at the bottom of their division. But I would leave every last one of them locked up, but I'm going to let Kirk Cousins out with 2 ankle monitors.
Have it. Tell me something.
I am also going to let Kirk Cousins out, and it's because I think hopefully he gets traded from the Vikings before the deadline. He's having a good year statistically. He just needs some help with his protection with Kirk Cousins.
All right, talk some sense into him, Tony.
You muted. Mute box.
Oh God, and it was golden too. I'm gonna let somebody out, but we making a trade. Somebody's snitching to get somebody out to get somebody else put in. And let me tell you,
Who the snitch?
I don't know who the snitch is yet, but we're gonna let Kirk Cousins out of jail because this man has 1,500 yards, 13 touchdowns to only 4 interceptions. And 2 of those interceptions were right off his receiver/tight end's hands. And one of them was to lose the game right off Hawkinson's hands into the end zone, and it was picked off. Oh, man. So now we got to see who we're going to put in jail. Let me see. Let's look across the country. Let's come back a little bit. No, we're not going to go there. Let's go back up north. No, we're going to go with Derek Carr. Derek Carr's going to jail. We're going back down south. He's going to prison, and he's on life without parole at the moment.
Life without parole.
This man talked all that crap about he put his heart and soul into the Raiders, and he honestly didn't see it coming. He don't know why he was gone, blah, blah, blah. And all these – I didn't even know Derek Carr had this many fans because I used to be a Derek Carr, like, okay, he's decent. Dude, these guys came out the woodworks talking about Derek Carr's elite. I mean, it's not his fault we lost. And I was like, dude, this guy and Lamar Jackson are twins. They turn the ball over every chance they can in the fourth quarter. And honestly, Lamar, he's on probation right now. He's getting close to violating. So, Derek Carr, you are trash, man. I don't know what's going on. If you didn't have such a freaking trash can behind you, you would not have a spot. I don't know what's wrong with Derek Carr. I don't know why he sucks so bad. I guess it runs in the family. But we letting Kirk Cousins out, and Derek Carr just got brought in, and he's with Big Juicy in the cell.
Big Juicy. You know, I hate to be Derek Carr. You lose. You know, I mean, I hate to be Devontae Adams. I mean, think about him and his quarterback situation over the last couple of years. That's been kind of crazy. What's up, Tua?
Look, man, I got a soft spot for players that were put in bad situations. And this may surprise some folks because he's been terrible this year, but I'm letting Justin Fields out, man. This guy got drafted by the Bears. They got a defensive head coach. I think the first offensive player they took in the draft was like 4th round. He has no chance to succeed in Chicago. You can tell he hates it because he's calling his coaches out in press conferences. And, I mean, again, Justin Fields has the same issues Bryce Young does. He has no team around him. And I hate it, too, because Chicago's such a great, storied NFL franchise. And I just look at them and I'm like, man, I want them to be so good just because of the Windy City and the tough, the tough ball they play up there. But, I mean, you're going and get – okay, you drafted Justin Fields. And then you draft the linebacker out of Georgia, and I'm like, dude, get Justin Fields somebody to throw the ball to, or a running back or something. So I don't know. I think Justin Fields' story isn't wrote yet. I think it's wrote in just Chicago. I don't think he'll be around there much longer. But
and the Bears didn't see that linebacker from Georgia. They got rid of him.
Yeah, I know.
He's the best in the league.
That's the Bears.
Roquan.
They did the same thing with Khalil Mack.
If I had to let one of these guys out, I think I'm gonna have to let out Joe Burrow.
I knew it was coming.
I've been hard on Joe, but let's face it, Joe was one of those guys. He made one mistake, and we need to let him out on first offender.
Well,
he's been such a good person and so good. Done so much. He don't belong in that jail.
You look at this list, Zach. He don't belong on any list with Zach Wilson, Kirk Cousins, or Justin Fields. Period.
If you just looked at this year, though, we had the segment on who's robbing the bank. If you just looked at this year, he did put up an 82-yard game.
Hell, he's got arthritis.
Hey, but you also got to remember, what did your mom used to tell you growing up?
What's
You
that?
keep hanging around them boys right there, you're gonna end up in jail.
That's right. And you know what? You said he got arthritis. You know why he got arthritis, don't you?
All that money he's trying to carry.
Counting all that
Coach
damn money.
Price said you keep hanging around trash, you end up in the dumpster juice.
In the dumpster. Hey guys, we're gonna stay out of the dumpster right now because somebody crawling out of that thing. And I want one of you guys, maybe all of you guys, to tell me which team is creeping while you sleeping. I'm going back to Miami. What's up, Kevin?
Dude, I'm gonna tell you, man. I don't know how much creeping they're gonna do the rest of the season, but the Falcons are just kind of hanging around. They're playing good defense. They're running the ball good. You know, they're in a bad division, but again, I mean, if you look at that division, you got, you know, the Buccaneers are 3-1, the Falcons are 3-2, the Saints are 3-2. So, you know, and they're not beating each other yet, so to speak.
Right.
So, I mean, the Falcons are kind of creeping.
Listen, Kevin, I'm the only one.
You are.
I'm the only one. And I'm going to tell you something else, too. People are sleeping, not like a full-grown hibernation, but definitely taking some naps on Ritter. Ritter is playing decent, and he's getting better every week. No, he's not anything great,
Right.
but the kid, hey, look, man, the Falcons look different than any other Falcons team that I've seen in a long time.
Well, you know, and when I watch them play, and I'll be honest, I only watched them one play last time. The last week they played, that's when I watched them. But when they play, it looks like they know who they are, at least. You know,
Yeah.
they
look
ain't
like
trying to be something they're not. They're just playing solid defense, running the ball okay, and trying to make the quarterback not to make any mistakes.
Yeah, and that's something Falcons haven't been able to do forever. What do you say, Havoc?
Man, this one's going to surprise you guys, but I got to go with Jacksonville Jaguars.
That don't surprise nobody.
No one thought we were gonna beat the Bills. Nobody. Who here said they were gonna beat the Bills?
I did.
Who in the national media said they were gonna beat the Bills? Nobody. Not a damn person. So they're creeping while everyone else is sleeping. Literally, Jaguars.
Wake up, Two-Turd.
Oh, my bad. I heard all this Falcon talk. I had to go back to sleep. I do want to point out that I was the lone Buffalo Bills non-picker this past weekend. I picked the Jacksonville Jaguars in London. But, yeah, Havoc kind of stole mine. I was going to say Jacksonville because, you know, you watched that game. They honestly dominated Buffalo from start to finish. The score was closer than what the game should have been. Trevor Lawrence had 2 turnovers in Buffalo territory. They just didn't capitalize. Calvin Ridley should have caught a touchdown that Trevor threw beautifully. And I get it was a tough catch to get your feet in, but he called it. He should have got his feet in. I don't care. You're in the NFL. You're getting paid. Get your damn toes in. I mean, practice it. Go out the beach and tap your toes in the sand. You just got to toe tap. But my sleeper team that can make a run this year, man, is the Detroit Lions. I mean, their offense is, in my opinion, one of the top 5 most explosive offenses in the National Football League. And
I'm about to go to sleep now.
There's all this hype. You know, there was all this hype about they're going to use Jahmyr Gibbs this way and that way. Dude, they ain't used that man a lick. But David Montgomery, this dude's been resurrected out of the damn coffin, and he's running over everybody. This dude's breaking 60-yard runs, and he runs a 5.6. I mean, I don't know what's going on. And then Jameson Williams, who everybody's forgot about, suspension just got reduced to 4 games. So now he's back. So you got St. Brown. You got Jameson Williams. You got these running backs. Look, you don't need Jared Goff to be Patrick Mahomes in that offense. You got the weapons. You get it to them, and you let them go to work. Now, I'm going to go opposite of Dalton. I think Detroit's Lions defense is shaky. The only thing that I give their defense credit on is they give up a lot of yards, but they tend to get the stops at the right time. When they need the stop, they get it. And that's what helps those Lions offense. If their defense just gets a tad better with giving up so many yards, you know, that lead to points, I think Detroit has a chance to make a deep run in the playoffs.
Oh my God. Somebody else say something to get
I got
that.
something.
Somebody say
So-
something to get that out of my ears.
All right, so I'm actually, to start it off, I'm not going to use this team because I said it in the previous show. I said the Lions would win the division. I still believe they're going to win the division, and I agree with all of what Tony said. But the other team that I predicted, and you said it, Barry. You said you're the only ones to pick the Falcons. I was the only one, and you laughed me out of the building. Every one of you stinking people on this show. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 3-1, and they're sitting at the top of the NFC East or South. Sorry, and honestly, they played competitively with the Eagles. And let's be honest, they're going to be in the playoffs just like the host Steve Dalton said they would be, and that's the bottom line because another Steve said so.
I don't think they're gonna make the playoffs, but we're gonna see. What's up, Price?
Well, all y'all were actually sleeping and got crept on because neither one of you thought about it because you were having dreams of Kyle Shanahan jumping over the moon and Christian McCaffrey running for gold and Kittle being Kittle.
This sounds like a Seahawk thing.
But that's exactly it. Nobody is talking about the Seahawks because they started the season 0-1, but they on a 3-game winning streak, and they're right behind San Francisco. So while everybody was sleeping, the Seahawks are creeping.
And you know what? He is exactly right. And that's why I'm looking at that Seahawks Bengals game coming up this weekend. I'm pretty sure that's who they're playing. That is going to be a game. What do you say, Havoc?
Wait, what's the question?
Who's creeping while we're sleeping?
Oh yeah, I said the Jags.
Oh, you said,
Yeah.
did I get everybody on that one?
Yeah, you got me.
Okay, cool. My bad. Okay, just a couple more slides to get through, fellas. This is one I'm really wanting to hear from y'all because this question right here is the question that I have every single year. Because a lot of times through the way I watch football, and I think maybe some of you guys are the same, is I want the stories. You know, the stories of the game to me is better than even the X's and the O's. It's always been that way for me. So my mind says this, but my heart wants this in the Super Bowl. Steve Dalton.
Well, you already know what my heart wants. It's the New England Patriots. I had so many fun times, and I think TJ's witnessed a couple of them and seen a lot more videos because there's a lot of world championships about the time that I could drink, maybe legally or illegally, whatever you want to call it. But what my mind is saying, I'll be honest, it's those San Francisco 49ers. I don't think anybody is going to come close to beating them. Nobody can beat Brock Purdy. He is 10-0 in games he started and finished. And until he loses, I don't want to hear anything you got to say or your bald-headed grandma.
Kevin. Hold on. You told me, but you didn't tell me what you wanted.
What I wanted was
The
these
Super Bowl.
Patriots in the Super
Yeah, but
Bowl.
what Super Bowl? I'm talking about, I want to know the game you want.
Oh, okay.
What
Sorry.
game you think is going to be and
I
what
thought
game
you
you
meant
want.
team. Sorry.
No.
Game that I would want. You know what? I'm going to go 49ers and Chiefs because I know that the 49ers would send Taylor Swift home crying, Kelsey home higher than a kite, and Patrick Mahomes and his, let's just call him sweet brother, to the next bar in Kansas City to go to jail because I can't stand the Mahomes, and I wish Brittany would go to jail too. So that's what I would hope. Okay, let's go out on a limb.
All right, Kevin, your mind says one thing, but your
Yeah.
heart wants another.
Yeah, my mind tells me it's going to be the Bills and the Niners. I think that's really the two most complete teams on both sides of the ball in each league. My heart wants Miami, and I would love for the Falcons to make a wild card pick, and then maybe the bus derail for the opposing team, and then they get to forfeit and win the NFC Championship game, just so my boy Tua could have a very simple and easy Super Bowl win, because there's no chance he would lose to the Falcons.
True.
None. So that was my heart. My heart wants Miami versus the Falcons.
Heart wants Miami. That's an interesting game, but you know what? I hope that game doesn't happen. I don't mind Tua, but I just don't know really gonna do it for me in the Super Bowl. But who knows what they'll do? You know what I mean? What do you say, Two-Turn?
Yeah, well, my head says the 49ers versus the Dolphins. That's what my head says. And, you know, I know Dalton said the Chiefs, but the only way I see Mahomes' brother winning any kind of championship this year is if it's a baton swallowing competition. So I don't see the Chiefs doing anything this year, and that's just my honest opinion. I don't think Mahomes can do it back to back with what he's got. But my mind says 49ers. But my heart knows the 49ers are going to find a way to choke it away like they always freaking do. And I hate it because my buddy Marquise is a diehard. I was sitting beside him on the couch when they lost the last one, and he was just over like, I don't know what. And I felt so bad for him. I even wore his jersey. I took it off. But my heart says Dolphins versus Eagles. I told y'all my storybook in at the beginning of the year. It ain't no guess. It's what's going to be.
That would be a really, really great game. Coach.
Well, on the heart side, it's a little sentimental to me. You got the Miami Dolphins right now. They're hot. Last time Miami did anything, 1972. What year was the dumpster juice invented? 1972. One of my favorite teams growing up was the San Francisco 49ers. Jerry Rice, Roger Craig, Ronnie Lott, Talley. I mean, the list goes on. So my heart says I would love to see Miami and San Francisco in the Super Bowl. But my mind is telling me that my heart is on the right damn page. And I'm going with the Miami Dolphins and the San Francisco 49ers in the Super Bowl for one reason, for what TJ just got through saying. I don't think Mahomes is going to be able to do it again. So to me, the only other threat that's out there that can actually hurt you is going to be in Miami, because the one thing you got to remember is at the pace that Miami is on right now compared to where the other guys are, Miami will have a home field advantage in this. So you're going to have to come to Miami, which means you're putting them in their element when you play them, as opposed to saying, oh, Miami's got to travel all the way to Kansas City. It's 13 degrees and it's snowing outside. Dolphins don't have a chance. But you put Miami at home in the playoffs, and my heart is exactly what my mind is saying. Give me the 49ers. Give me the Dolphins, with the 49ers winning it all.
What do you say, Havoc? Jaguars and Cowboys?
Well, that's what my heart says. That yes, I'll go with what my heart says. My heart obviously would love a Jaguars and Cowboys Super Bowl with the Cowboys winning, but you did guess, Barry. That's great work on your behalf. You're learning me well. So my head does say, though, I got to disagree with all you guys. I think Patrick Mahomes is the Michael Jordan of this era of the NFL. I think he's going to win it again. He's going to beat the best team in the NFC, the San Francisco 49ers, but not because, and they do choke, but it's because Kyle Shanahan chokes. Let's clarify that. Not the 49ers. Kyle Shanahan chokes in big moments.
Let's be honest. He beat out Patrick Mahomes' brother in the baton swallowing competition.
Hey, I'm gonna wrap it up and hand it back to Steve Dalton on this. Dude, I'm so conflicted. And the reason I'm so conflicted that I have, I feel like the 49ers are the Super Bowl team. And I really hate that because they haven't earned it in terms of they haven't won the Super Bowl yet, but I'm kind of making them like the underdog. I mean, like the big dog. They deserve a chance to go in and do it, but it seems so obvious. You know what I mean? When you look at them, it just seems like nobody can beat them, right? So what I have here is this. I think my mind says it's going to be San Francisco versus the Chiefs. But my heart wants.
Going ahead and say it. Go ahead and say it. You know you want to agree with me.
Look, man. I really, you know what I'm saying? Really, honestly, if I really think about it, what I want San Francisco, Miami. Because if those two teams are healthy, if Tua can get to the game healthy, Tyreek and all them boys, probably the fastest team in football. Wouldn't y'all say?
History.
The fastest team in history, Miami Dolphins, versus one of the craftiest coaches and one of the baddest teams in San Francisco. That Super Bowl gives me chills.
Mm-hmm. Historic.
It's just something about that game that would be just amazing. But I would not cry at one bit if 15 rolls up again and Kelsey and Mahomes and Kate and Taylor Swift, that threesome, all there together, holding up that trophy.
Threesome.
Yeah, that threesome. The hold up that trophy.
Let's turn into Stream Hub.
You just might have coined an awesome phrase.
And I want to add something to that, Barry. And it always seems like the Chiefs, every time we count them out, because last year everyone counted them out before the playoffs got there, so they aren't winning it this year. And then freaking Mahomes does his thing, broke ankle and all. Dalton hated him last year. Look, he is ankle.
I grew up in the middle of Hooters in Birmingham, Alabama, watching that performance.
He just hates Dalton. I don't know why he's such a big hater of Mahomes.
Because he's a threat to Tom Brady. That's why.
Yeah, and you're right. You're right.
He couldn't clean Tom Brady's jock strap.
Whatever. Hey, and Tony, you're right, man. And that's the one thing that I will say. And I think everybody, if they use their mind and they just take the hate away, if the Chiefs get there, they are a problem. That's a big if, though, this year. I really will say that. And let me say one thing before I get back to you, Doctor, because I know we're over 10 minutes. If I knew that we can get the good Josh Allen, that would be a good one, too, because Josh Allen, man, I love Josh Allen. He is the Derrick Henry of quarterbacks. The dude is just beast mode. You know what I'm saying? But he got that thing in him that at the worst moment, he'll just throw it away. Go ahead, Dalton.
Well, some good news, guys. After all the disagreements and the laughter tonight, some great points by you as always. Great show, Barry. NFL show is one of my favorites. Favorite things that we do. But good news, fans. We got a lot of football left, which means one thing. We got a lot of chopping block left. So I know we don't have Dylan tonight, so I'll take it over for him. But this has been the Chopping Block Podcast presented by DJ's Clam Shack. Hey, Barry, spin that shit.
Yeah, we about to do it. Watch us get